Hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 hey. Black excellence, black beauty, and black pride. Black power from all diasporas coincide. Progressive truth and regression eventually collide. May the beauty of the people no longer be set aside. May the black queen's grace continually mesmerize the millions who couldn't see it when looking into her eyes. And the black man's plight no longer be the disguise. Oppression, emasculation, they wanna castricize him. Take him away from the black queen, put him inside prison for slave labor, he institutionalized. Wondering on the outside, is she willing to ride? Is she willing to ride? Is she willing to fight for the love, even despite the fact that he doing time? Love that conquers all will never fade with time. If she don't choose the love that appreciates every life, his flame might get dim and he may eventually.
And we are live.
Look at that. That happened very quick. So, Urban Impact Show, Urban Impact family, we, it's just a beautiful day in the neighborhood. You are watching the Urban Impact Show, and today we're talking all about education. Education in 2020. I don't know about you, Rob, but we're both from Chicago, and so in Chicago, when it was time to go back to school, there used to be the Bud Billiken Day Parade. Everybody would get excited, go out there, you get your water, you buy your socks with the little ball on the back, you got your book bag ready, you gonna see people, get your fresh lineup, your fresh braids, whatever you're about to do, and get super excited to get in to school. And this year, of course, has presented some different obstacles for us with education or just meeting in person. And there are a lot of concerns. We've been hearing from Urban Impact family members just wanting to talk about what's going on with education, like what are the happenings, what are the resources, and what can we do? So we wanted to bring this conversation to you all, some of our community leaders within education as well, to talk about what is going on with Education 2020 and how we as an Urban Impact show can help support the Urban Impact family as we want to move forward as safely as possible. Robert James Johnson?
Yeah, so listen, I'm just lost. Like, I'm confused. Mainly because I don't know how to feel about this just yet, Shekinah, because it's like we want our babies to be educated. We want our babies to get everything that they can, but we also want them to be safe. And then on top of that, we don't want them to bring anything back to their parents or grandparents. And so we just found out last night in Indianola that they're shutting down one of the schools in Indianola already because a first grader contracted COVID-19, and now
there was a case in a first grade classroom, correct?
Yes, and so
we don't know whether that was the teacher or the student, but still,
yeah,
it's a concern.
Yeah, it is, and now all of those kids and the teacher.
And beyond just elementary, people are talking a lot about elementary. If you're just joining us, Urban Impact Show, we're talking about Education 2020, what that looks like, what's happening now, what are some of the resources, and how we, as the Urban Impact family, can be most supportive. Beyond elementary students, ISU reported 2.2% positive cases last weekend, or, the days blur during COVID, right? So nobody knows what day it is ever, but.
Yeah, and honestly, as we get into this conversation, my concern is like how do we do it safely, right? How do we, and we can't keep trying to I saw a meme on Facebook, Shekinah, where it said you can't keep trying to push kids to go back to school if no one listens to the educated. Right? It's like we're trying to push people back to a place that nobody is listening to the educated. So I'm excited for our guests. We have some exciting guests with us today, and then we have a few more that's going to be joining us a little bit later on. But right now, for this first half an hour, we have the honorable, the amazing Dr. Alex Hanna, who is who is a retired school principal. Mm-hmm. We have the amazing Deborah Carr.
Absolutely.
And honestly, I hate putting Mrs. Carr in like a box and say like she does something, because she really does like a whole bunch of stuff.
Absolutely.
Like all of the stuff that I'm doing, she has like ideas. Like I can literally call her about just about any of the events that we do.
Yes.
And then of course we have the lovely and the awesome up and comer youth, our very own Miss Kenyatta, and she is leading the charge with our NAACP youth. And so this conversation is needed to be had, and I know a lot of people online was like, look, let's have this talk. And so right now, as we take this break, we're going to ask everybody, share this, start a watch party, do it right now. You got what, 60 seconds?
Yes, 60 seconds.
So we got 60 seconds. Share this right now. Share this live feed. Let's get our numbers up. Continue to push this out. Start a watch party. And let's go get it. And we'll be right back with Dr. Hannah, Deborah Carr, and the lovely Miss Kenyatta. We'll see y'all soon. We'll be back in 60 seconds. And we are back. We're back with the Urban Impact Show. We have our guests with us. That's right, Shekinah?
Absolutely. We have Dr. Hannah and Miss Deborah Carr, and also a representative from NAACP Youth. We want to be clear. So Urban Impact Show today is talking about Education 2020, how we are confronted with trying to make sure that our youth, young and more mature, are educated, but in a healthy way. We have had protests from teachers, Drive for Lives. We've had a mandate from our governor that would mandate 50% face-to-face learning. Iowa State University has reported 2.2% positive cases within the past week for the new folks moving in. We have remote schools starting on the 17th as well as the 24th. Different folks got different plans that they are putting together, but nonetheless, parents and caregivers are concerned. And so we just wanted to bring this conversation to you all. I am not a parent. I don't feel like I am the subject matter expert on this topic at all, but we wanted to make sure we used our platform to talk to lots of you all that are parents or caregivers for those that are in school or going back, to talk about what is happening, what are the resources that we have, and what we can do about that. So we want to welcome Dr. Hannah, Miss Deborah Carr, and I want to make sure I say her name right. With a name like Shekinah, I try not to mess up other people's names. Kenyatta. Welcome to Urban Impact Show.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, thanks so much for the invitation.
No problem. Thank you.
So Shekinah, let's start with Dr. Hannah real quick and just talk about some as a retired principal and as somebody who really, I mean, I don't know if you really ever retired because I mean you're still going back in to do some work. You can speak freely. Where are we right now? Like, what should we be doing? Who should we be listening to?
Well, can you hear me?
Yes,
sir.
Yes.
So, hey, first of all, I wanted to thank you guys for the invitation. Thank Megan for the invitation, and you guys for the work that you're doing. I really appreciate it. It's so nice to see Deborah on the other end as well. I had both of her sons, so I'm grateful that we came in contact pretty early. So thank her for the work that she's doing, along with the other young lady that's doing the work for the organization. It's a dilemma right now. It's crazy right now. I'm in and out right now, but I think we have to always look at and give consideration for the safety of our students and our instructional staff, and that's where we are right now. I think we should be listening to the doctors. I think we need to be listening to science. You can look at our metrics in our state and across the nation, but more importantly, I think you have to listen to educators, because they're the ones that are going to be actively involved in that process. So unless we're doing that, unless we have them at the table, unless we really are looking at the health, safety, and welfare of our students and the families that we serve, we're missing the mark. And I would honestly say we're missing the mark right now.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely a concern that we're hearing from parents, from students, from teachers about paying attention to the safety precautions, paying attention to what people need to learn. I'm interested, Ms. Deborah Carr, I know that you are very closely involved with Des Moines Public Schools as a C3 coordinator. I'm not even sure what C3 coordinator means, but I'm sure it means that you are the bomb.com. And working every day as an advocate for education, I'm interested in your thoughts on where we are now. We're seeing Waukee, which is not a part of Des Moines Public Schools, but we're seeing Waukee has already established on-site and online options requiring face coverings when in person, and they start school on the 24th. We're seeing, I think it's Bondurant.
Bondurant, yep.
I already say that name wrong. Yeah. I clearly don't live in that city.
Bondurant.
Everybody say it different. How do we don't even know. Anyway, that's why we need education. 2 groups, separating their students into 2 groups, an on-site and a remote group, and they're starting on the 17th. And then DMPS is looking to start within the next 2 weeks as well, and I'm not sure that I've heard a clear plan from that. So, Ms. Deborah, can you talk a little bit about where we are with DMPS students returning? What are those options? Make sure you unmute yourself, or just make sure that your little microphone. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, there you go.
Okay. Well, thank you. I am honored to be a part of this conversation today. Thank you, Dr. Hannah, for everything you did for my family and my sons, and Kenyatta for being here. Rob and Shekinah, you all are the bomb, and I thank you, Des Moines community. I work with school leadership teams to help them implement strategies and opportunities to ensure equity and to ensure that students are able to learn, thrive, and grow. And right now, it is a real critical time as we look at what the pandemic is doing and the implications that it is causing on our learning environment. I'd have to give it up right now to Dr. Ahart for the simple fact that he has been bold enough to say our top priority has got to be the health and well-being of our students and our staff. And what I can tell you is that we have been working on plans and actually had some plans in place prior to our governor kind of changing everything at the last minute and really not giving schools the level of depth and scope for what we needed to be doing in order to provide education in a safe way. What we have done is offered in our plan hybrid and a virtual learning option, which means that parents can choose what they believe is going to be best for their student. So those options will be available. What we're going to need from everybody, though, is a little bit of grace, a whole lot of mercy, because we're going to be learning while going through this together. And there's lots of anxiety on both sides about what that really means. We do have some opportunity where there are going to be social distancing measures within the schools, but we've got to say, thinking about transportation and getting our children to school on the yellow bus, it's really difficult to implement social distancing strategies for those students who might have to use the yellow bus to get into the schools. And then you think about things like going to the bathroom or using the cafeteria. And I know we're talking about ways that students can eat in the classroom, ways that we can spread out students, and the mask issue. And I think younger students may have more of a challenge wearing a mask all day.
Yeah.
So we're going to be faced with quite a bit of challenges to implement this plan in the way that the governor is proposing. Really, her metric seems way too high. I think that for us to really do this safely, we would be better off. And I think we are trying to push the start date back to after Labor Day, just so that we know we can begin in the right way. But know that we're going to have a lot of questions, a lot of challenges, and we're asking for grace and flexibility. And we want to work more closely with the parents and our students and staff to make this be the best that we can given the circumstances.
That makes complete sense. I appreciate you speaking to what's happening within Des Moines. And when you refer to metrics, are you referring to the governor's mandate of 50% face-to-face learning in Iowa schools?
Yes, I'm speaking to that. And in addition to the metrics around infection rates,
okay,
those have been set really, really high. So one of the things that it seems very insensitive when I think about the governor's metrics, and I mean infection rates and schools having the ability to switch between virtual learning options and in class, a 2-week window is not realistic. So those that set those kinds of standards clearly, in my opinion, don't really realize what it takes to flip back and forth between that type of challenge. So really, when we start virtually, honestly, we can do that better now because we've had some experience with virtual learning and preparing. We've had some strategy for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But with a 2-week turnaround time based upon infection rates and the fact that those infection rates are very high, really puts a very hard challenge on schools to be able to modify and change in that respect.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that definitely does. Kenyatta, can you unmute real quick? Because definitely want to add you to this conversation and just figure out what are the youth saying? Like
from a college perspective, from a high school perspective, everybody seems to be really concerned about the littlest among us that may stick their hands and fingers in their nose and all that jazz. But from a more mature student standpoint, what are you hearing?
Pretty much, like, I haven't really been hearing like a lot from my friends, but I know for me, I'm kind of scared to go back to school because my mom has autoimmune disease, and I don't want to bring the disease home to her.
Right.
So is that really like the major concern? Is not that the students will get it, but that they will transmit it, right? Mm-hmm. That they would be carriers of this, and I mean, man, like. How do we do this safely? And I know we have some amazing people on, and we just had Miss Jolanda join. We got Miss Mary Wells, who just joined us from Investing in My Future as well. So we're going to be adding their voices to this conversation. But real quick, I want to jump back to Reverend Hannah. Rev, you were talking about listening to the science and listening to the people who are educated. What do we say to people who are like, look, we just got to step out there and just know that our students are going to be safe and that we should, kids need to just be in school. Like we see this push from certain individuals who are like, listen, kids just need to be in school and that's what we need to do. Like how, as a retired principal, if you were in those shoes right now, how would you advocate for your students in that position?
Well, I think Rob, I would finish with looking at both sides of it, and I think one of the problems that we are experiencing right now, we're really not better off when we shut down. We're actually worse than it was when we shut down. Okay, but I understand. The job situation. I understand people need to get back to work. I understand the whole healthcare piece. who's going to do what when. But we have placed a tremendous burden on those individuals that we're asking right now to educate our kids virtually. That's pretty tough. But when we look at just the infection rate alone, when we look at those metrics, we really are concerned with how do we effectively bring kids back and staff back. Look at the aging of our staff right now. It's not only bringing that out to their families, but it's also looking at what's going to happen to them personally. But I think when you look at what we're asking people to do, it's so politicized right now. We need to bring kids back. No one is going to argue with that. That in-school learning is tremendous. It is paramount that we get kids back for one-on-ones. We get kids back to have this relationship with their teachers and instructional leaders. No one's arguing about that. No one is going to go on the other side. However, what's going to happen though when people have placed all of this time and energy? I think the process is what I'm upset with. Especially with DMPS, people plan, teachers plan. We're trying to get our minds around this virtual process, and then for us not to be able to carry that forward concerns me. Who has access? There's always been a digital divide between kids that are underserved, disenfranchised families with not having the wherewithal to do that. Now we add an extra burden on them. Who's picking up the tabs? There is a myriad of concerns right now. My thing is, yes, I would like to see kids back. I'm not even there. But also, I would like to see kids back and teachers back in a safe environment. And I think until we can figure that out, our numbers keep rising in this state and across the nation. Until we can figure that out, we have to try to walk pretty slow in terms of the virtual piece here, because for me, that becomes secondary to the health and safety and welfare of our people. I think Des Moines got it right. I think Dr. Ahart and the organization has it right, and I think we should, as a state, we should honor that. But then you have the question of how do we educate these kids and the families effectively? That's where the problems are going to come in. The funding is going to be a concern, because what are we going to do in terms of the internet access and all those things that has to take place with the virtual learning, learning from home and learning online? Yeah. But I would struggle right now. I'll be honest with you. At my age right now, I would struggle right now, not only for my students, but I would struggle for my staff right now. So I still would not err on the side. I would walk very cautiously on the side of safety and the welfare of our teachers and the students and the families that we serve. We have to be able to honor that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Hannah. I wanted to make sure that sometimes, folks get together and we talk about the challenge. I saw a quote recently that talked about real leaders address solutions. So we don't clearly have all the solutions here, and people are just trying things. But I wanted to make sure that people that were concerned about students in the Des Moines public school system knew about the board meeting on Tuesday, August 11th. There's a public forum at 5:30. We are going to get more information about the link. We'll provide the link in our video about how to connect with that school board meeting. But if you are concerned, it's not enough to just talk amongst yourselves. We need to talk with those that are making decisions, sitting at the table, representing our voices. Correct. So we got shout outs to Dr. Ahart. I've heard multiple in this podcast so far, but we want to make sure that the rest of the folks sitting around that table hear our voices. So public forum 5:30, Tuesday, August 11th, which is the day after tomorrow, because today is Sunday if you're watching us live. And so this coming Tuesday, the public forum will be there. I want to make sure before we cut to our 60-second break that we have a chance to touch base with Jolanda Taylor, a parent of school-age child, and also Mary Wells, representative of Invest in My Future. So, Jolanda, if you could unmute yourself and kind of tell us your thoughts on the options that you have as a parent right now facing health concerns of our state and education. Oh, you look beautiful.
Well, thank you. But absolutely, first, let me say thank you all for asking me to even be on here. This is so outside of my realm of what I do. So I am super excited to be here.
He's a hater. We're sorry.
I am. But as a parent in the DMPS school system, I would have to echo what Mr. Hanna said. It was very challenging in the beginning. Now, I will say, I honestly felt, I guess, more sympathy or empathy toward parents who had to leave the home to work. Mostly because my husband and I are both entrepreneurs. So while this did displace us some, I could rearrange things and figure out how to care for my kids, right?
Yeah.
But I had to think about, you know, all of the families I used to work for DMPS. So all of the families that I worked with that don't have that same capability to be able to just rearrange and to figure out what they need to do with their kids, right? So when we come into this new school year and the options placed before us were, you're going to do all hybrid, or like be there a few days a week and home a few days a week, or all virtual, I felt like, man, while I understand why those options are there, I really feel like those are the best that they could have given. But I wasn't comfortable with either, to be completely honest. I believe that with the hybrid situation, as you know, people have already spoke about, just that whole having to go into the building and now they are exposed. They are bringing whatever they may pick up back to their home. So now I have a brand new baby in the house. He's 6 months. So now I have to worry about the health of my child.
Right.
And, you know, we have a grandmother who comes here who has, you know, issues as far as health wise. And so it was just like, man, I can't send my baby. Not only that, my son is going into the kindergarten and I really wanted him to be in a classroom. I really wanted him to see a teacher and have that experience, right? But he is also my child that picks up everything. So if it's a cold, he's going to get it. I can't have him coming home and risk him bringing something back to my home and then taking, you know, everybody into the sickness with him. Then you look at the virtual option, and in the virtual option, I understand why they did it, because in the spring virtual option they provided, it was not very rigorous. It was not really monitored. It was just free, right? But in the option now, it's very structured, which is good. However, it doesn't allow for the differences in learning that the children actually have, right? My daughter, one who in math and reading, I'm not able to provide her the assistance and supports that she needs in a completely virtual setting. So what do I do? Like, I really was like, okay, so now I have to become a teacher. Like now I have to figure out, okay, you know, what are the resources that we can plug into? What are the things that we need to do? And it really feels like the state has honestly put the school district in a situation because, parents are out here and we're struggling. We're looking for answers from the school district and they can't really give them because the state has said, it's us, this is what we say, but they're not in the buildings. So I don't know. It's just the whole situation is just very challenging. I understand it's challenging for all though, and my heart truly goes out to those the students and the teachers, because the teachers who don't have that option to not go into the building, it's definitely challenging.
Yeah. Hey, for those who are just joining us, you are watching the Urban Impact Show with Rob Johnson and Shekinah Young. And we're talking about educating our babies in 2020. Like, who would have thunk it? That,
big babies too, little babies, big babies.
Yeah.
Everybody.
And just educating people in general, educating our public in a safe way. We have the Dr. Reverend Alex Hanna. We have Mrs. Deborah Carr, Kenyatta, Mary Wells, and a parent on the phone, Mrs. Jolanda Taylor. And so right now I want to jump to Miss Mary Wells real quick as the CEO and founder of Investing in My Future, which is a nonprofit organization that helps serve younger people and give scholarships as they graduate through that program from high school and go to college. So she's working one-on-one with these students. She's doing college visits with these students. She's making, she's out advocating for these students. And so really want to bring you in on this conversation, Mother Wells, and just kind of hear your thoughts on this whole situation, and really kind of what should we expect, or what should we be thinking about, or what should we be doing?
Well, first off, thank you all for having me also, Shekinah and Rob. No one could have imagined a pandemic in 2020. Even though we've been told this to prepare for this, preparations were not done enough. And when you have to pivot on a dime and start recreating new information, new ways of delivery, it's difficult all the way around. We wanted to go on take kids on the HBCU tour that we take every year, but to keep everybody safe, there was no way to be able to make that happen. So now we're having to think virtually. And as has been stated earlier, it's hard when kids learn different ways, and exposing them first off in face-to-face encounters, I think is very important in this organization. So what Investing My Future is having to do is we're having to take a huge step backwards. We were already doing some virtual workshops and working with students, and the one-on-one. It's just a little bit different now. We're just having to react very quickly to how we can support family and students going into this new school year. It's going to be something very difficult, but I don't think it's unattainable. God is going to keep us and set us straight.
I know, that's right.
Get us on the right path to making sure what we need to do and how we need to do it. So I'm thankful, that we have a lot of a big family. Investing My Future, we always talk about that village, and that village is getting, even though it seems small because we're all siloed right now, we are still very dependent and interlocked and interdependent upon each other to help these children through this peril, because we are in peril right now.
Definitely, that is very true. We are in peril. For those of us that are people of faith, now's the time to lean, depend, not to your own understanding, right? We need all of that .com on a regular basis.
Come through Jesus.
Man, it ain't even an option at this point.
We got a whole bunch of churchgoers on the line. Everybody about to shout.
I wanted to mention that the Deltas are deep in the conversation today. I see you ladies with your popping red.
Oh, don't forget we got the Kappa in the building too.
Oh, look at that. I'm a link. I do not.
It's a whole bunch of red going on.
Type a link. But thank you so much, Dr. Hannah, for your wisdom. Jolanda, for your background in education and your engagement as a parent. Miss Mary Wells, for your insight about what's going on with Investing My Future and how you're trying to be flexible with what's going on in the pandemic. Kenyatta, you are the bomb.com girlfriend. You are our future, and we appreciate and believe in your insights about what's going on from the more mature youth perspective. We are going to take and Miss Deborah Carr, how could I forget? I wrote them down. I made all my list. Miss Deborah Carr, you have been blazing a trail from long time when me and Rob first came to Des Moines, and you are still doing that, including your role as C3 coordinator with DMPS. We want to make sure that we take a
60-second break.
60-second break, and we will be right back. You are
with
watching
all of our guests. None of our guests.
Don't leave.
Before you guys go off, I want to thank Mrs. Taylor as one of my former students. She's doing a fantastic job, and thank you, Mary, for the job that you're doing.
Well,
Thanks
hey,
so much.
don't nobody go anywhere. Don't nobody go anywhere. We're
Yes.
coming right back, and we're gonna come right back to all of our guests as soon as we get back. So don't nobody go anywhere.
Yes, nobody leave. Nobody get hurt. Urban Impact Show.
We'll be right back. And we are back. Welcome back to the Urban Impact Show. I'm your boy, Rob Johnson.
I'm your favorite host, Shekinah Young.
Hey, look, she's my favorite too. I absolutely love working with Shekinah. Let me tell y'all, she keeps me honest. She keeps me on point. Sometimes she's a therapist. Sometimes she's a friend. Let me tell you.
$3.99, y'all.
Let me tell you, man. A business consultant and all type of stuff. Look, man, get y'all some good friends around you. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Get y'all some good friends. So speaking of friends, we got some amazing guests, right, Shekinah?
Absolutely. We have Dr. Hannah. If you have been in Des Moines any longer than a month, you would know about Mr. Dr. Hannah and what he's done for our community and continues to do, even in kind of retirement. The jury's out on that. Like officially on paper is retired, but he's happy to lend a helping hand and a listening ear whenever he can. We also have Miss Deborah Carr, who currently serves our youth in Des Moines Public Schools as the C3 coordinator.
Trailblazer.
There, yes, and has blazed a huge trail for community advocacy work. We have Miss Kenyatta of the NAACP Youth Chapter here in Des Moines, who is representing the youth voice on Education 2020, in addition to Miss Mary Wells of Invest in My Future, and Jolanda Taylor, who has a crazy education background and is also an engaged and involved parent. I'm sorry, what'd you say? I'm sorry. My other half of this show was trying to distract me because he knows that I have a notebook and I take notes and I pay attention when I'm talking, and he does not have a notebook. But I wanted to throw a question to our guests centered around resources. Like, what can we say? What can we offer to the parents, the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, the neighbors, anybody that's concerned about return to learn and what's happening in their local district? Maybe they have to go to work. Maybe they have to go to work and they're concerned about this day on, day off thing. Maybe they have someone with some health concerns at home. What are some resources that you're hearing about or that you're thinking about that we can help offer our viewers so that we can just handle this in the best way as an Urban Impact family? And these will be our final thoughts as time is winding down. So we want to start with Dr. Hannah. What are some resources you'd like our Urban Impact family to know about?
Okay, and I think that's, I alluded to this earlier. I think that's really a very tough issue right now because school districts nationally, especially in Des Moines, we are strapped for funding. And I think just the mere fact that we've got to prepare safety mechanisms, put those into place in order for kids and staff to come back is going to cost a ton of money. It really is, if we're going to do it right. So again, I don't know if I can share that I have a lot of resources, but I certainly think that the state has to buy into this notion of, okay, you want people back in, you've got to have to fund this. You're going to have to help fund it because there is no funding in from district to district to district. It's just not there. So I think we have to tap in, if we can, to to state. That's who wants us to do that, and I know they're allocating some funds to do some things. I think Deborah might know of resources and people that are really on the ground right now can provide those type of resources or can lead you into those areas for resources. But for me, as a building administrator, I would be constantly trying to get the state to fund, like we do every year, for appropriate staff and all of those things that we need for programming. So I would still be trying to get people to knock on the door of their representatives and to push that issue. The other piece, I think people that are really actively involved in this can share some insight as to what doors you can knock on for those resources, okay? Long way of answering that.
We got all of that, though. We got all of that. I was taking notes. That's very serious. Funding is a resource that we can speak up about on multiple levels that our school districts do need to, in order to make sure that people are learning in a safe way. And I think that's a really important factor that you mentioned. Miss Deborah Carr, can you share your thoughts on some resources that parents or caregivers or individuals should be reaching out to or looking up for? Can we ask that everybody else mute their mic besides Miss Deborah?
Can you hear me, Shekinah?
Absolutely.
Okay. On our DMPS website, we do have links that can connect people to research resources through our community school coordinators. There's a wealth of resources that are available. But there are some other things that I want to briefly speak to about a lot of change, learning how to deliver instruction in a different way during a pandemic. The challenge, I think, is also creating a great opportunity to strengthen relationships between community, parents, teachers, and our students so that we walk more in unity rather than in division. One of the things that we're learning about is the significance of relationships and how we can leverage relationships so that we can do a better job in what we do and how we deliver instruction. And when you think about doing it virtually, there are a number of ways I think parents and community organizations, as they continue to deliver program virtually, we're helping our kids get an understanding of what that looks like, what that sounds like, how to keep people engaged, and how to elevate student, parent, and community voice along with our educators so that we're not just talking at people, we're talking with people, and we really have a shared collaboration, collective empathy, and that we're working together to figure out what and how we do this in a way that adds value for the whole. So I think it's a challenge, but it's a great opportunity. And that if we prioritize and know, of course, safety, health, and well-being is first, but letting your state representatives know about the need in terms of the state, really understanding and recognizing who benefits and who doesn't benefit. So as we look at abolitionist teaching, cultural relevancy, and how do we do a better job holistically for looking at the whole child? I think the opportunity exists right now to leverage relationships and engagements in ways that were underutilized in the past. So I would check out
Absolutely.
the DPS website, community school coordinators. There are links or resources. And
Yeah.
if you need more than that, we can talk more.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we posted a link. We're live on Facebook right now, and in our Facebook thread, we posted a link to DMPS's website for resources, but also to join that public forum at 5:30 p.m. this Tuesday, August 11th, knowing that there will be a meeting at 6 p.m. this Tuesday, August 11th. And if you would like to voice your opinions and thoughts, or just hear what those plans are, learn what DMPS is planning to do, or just give Dr. Earhart a shout out, that's where you can go to get more information. Thank you so much, Ms. Deborah Carr. Kenyatta, do you have information that you'd like to share with us about resources?
I do not.
Quick and to the point. I'm not mad, Kenyatta, but I think that if people just stay connected with NAACP to understand how they can continuously be involved in different efforts, specifically with health and wellness and also education, that will be an avenue for them to connect best through your organization. But thank you so much for your time. We appreciate that. Jolanda, any thoughts on resources for parents, friends, teachers, students?
Yes, as a parent, one thing that has been pretty helpful for me is there are a lot of Facebook groups that are for moms or for parents. And in those groups, they've been sharing kind of resources and ways to support one another. I do know there is a thread, I believe it was in the Shop Black Des Moines group, but where parents were trying to formalize some additional educational resources for a parent who was either going to try the virtual or do homeschool. There's conversations about starting homeschool co-ops, things like that. So definitely connect to the social media groups that are out there. bounce ideas off of other parents. Everybody's in the same predicament, and so everybody's looking for something together. So I think it's a great place to have a conversation.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense, and that's really helpful. I know that if just understanding that you're not in this alone and trying to get those thoughts through somebody else, just brainstorm with some other folks in similar situations can be really helpful.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'm not. Oh, Miss Mary Wells, resources. Do you have any thoughts on resources you can share with parents or students, teachers, grandparents, concerned individuals?
Certainly, they can reach out to investinmyfuture.org. They can hit us up out there if they've got questions. We'll try to put them in contact with the right organizations. But again, if they go out to the school websites, their school websites, the COVID-19 websites, I think knowledge is power. If they're educating themselves and their students about how to keep themselves safe, that's the minimum thing that we can do for these young people. And then if we're not, you see these representatives and those folks that are supposed to have your back, not having your back, make sure you're registered to vote and your students that are 18 and older are registered to vote. You can make a difference. It may not be right now, but the next time that comes to at election time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, hey, thank y'all so much. First of all, huge shout out to all of our guests. We want to just say thank you so much to Dr. Hannah, Deborah Carr, Kenyatta, Mary Wells, Jolanda Taylor. Thank you all so much for joining the Urban Impact Show today. You've been given a lot of information, and I know on Facebook some people have been commenting, and so if any one of you all want to just jump on the Facebook page and give your thoughts and comments underneath the Facebook page on somebody said, will social distancing actually be possible in the schools? The amount of overcrowded classrooms last year was ridiculous. And then Dominic Davison also said this is a worry for student athletes and their eligibility when it comes to their sports. And so how will that be, do they lose a year of being eligible to play and stuff like that? And and his daughter is killing it on the basketball court right now, and so huge shout out to them. And so if any one of you all want to just jump over on the Facebook page and comment and post that stuff. But we also just wanted to say thank you. Final thoughts. My final thoughts before we throw it over to the lovely Miss Shekinah is this. There's a lot going on in our city. There's a lot going on in our state. There's a lot going on in our country. But what we want to make sure is that you are looking out for your neighbors, for you. You have to make sure that you're taking physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. You have to look out for all of that stuff. And right now, this show was about looking out for our students, whether they are college, whether they are grad school or elementary or even daycares. Just looking out for what we are doing with our community. Get engaged. Be involved. Check the Facebook page for some updates on some we're going to be having some events coming up here. I know that back to school bash is coming up pretty soon. I also know that there's an event an awareness protest about sex trafficking, and so we're gonna be talking about that. We're still in the Black Health Challenge with Zakia English from Grace Fitness and Medi from Black Collar CrossFit. So there's a lot happening and there's a lot going on all at once. And here at the Urban Impact Show, we're just trying to bring you all of the information that we can to keep you updated and keep you educated. And we appreciate all of your support. Shekinah?
Absolutely. 2020 has been unprecedented in more ways than one, right? We have racial issues going on every level, from local to state to federal and even global. We have health issues going on that's clearly impacting our schools. And like today on the Urban Impact Show, we're talking about Education 2020 and where do we go? What are our resources? How can we care for each other best in the Urban Impact family? And it's a lot, right? If you're anything like me, you tired of protesting, you tired of hollering, you tired of emailing elected officials. But we have to make sure that we tap into these resources to rejuvenate ourselves, to be best prepared for our families. Our guest talked about needing funding from the state in order to move things forward. clearly a fact, using DMPS as a resource. That's dmschools.org, DMSCHOOLS.org, as a resource, attending the upcoming school board meeting. That's August 11th, which is Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, 5:30 for public comment, 6 p.m. for the meeting. Our guests also talked about Facebook groups to talk with other folks in your same situation that are brainstorming different ideas. And then investinmyfuture.org, NAACP Youth Organization website. I wanted to add one more resource to that, COVIDRecoveryIowa.org, COVIDRecovery Iowa, IOWA.org. There are free virtual resources and assistance available to those that have been impacted by COVID, whether that is a counseling resource or other things. They are there on that website. I am a person of faith, and I believe that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And you have to know who you are and lean on something greater than yourself in times of uncertainty. We are definitely living in times of uncertainty. And so I would offer that as a resource, the greatest resource that I can ever offer. We here at the Urban Impact Show want to be as supportive of you as we possibly can.
Yep.
We're dropping links in there that we know of. We're connecting you with organizations. We are resilient people. We get through any and everything. And this is another thing that we will get through. And so I wanted to let you know, I would be remiss. 15 years on the Back to School Iowa Commission of folks.
Co-founder.
Co-founder of Back to School Bash. We have our Back to School Bash coming up Sunday, August 23rd. We have the flyer here for you to see that. It's going to be a little different this year. So we do want the youth to be prepared and excited to learn, whether that's at home or that's in a classroom. But we want to make sure you have the supplies that you need. So we're expanding that to 4 other locations. It's going to be Sunday, August 23rd, and we're doing a drive-through. If you don't have a vehicle or transportation means, we're doing a walk-through.
Amen.
We just need you to have a mask on, and we will gladly hand you over your supplies and wish you well in the upcoming school year. But we are going to be in 4 locations: Evelyn K. Davis Center parking lot, the Eddie Davis Center lot, Union Park, and King Park.
Yep.
Again, that's Evelyn K. Davis Center, Eddie Davis Center, the Union Park, and King Park. Those 4 locations. Meet us there. Sunday, August 23rd from 2 until 4 p.m. We want to make sure that your students are prepared with supplies to go back to school. We are partnering with a couple of organizations within the community because we can't be everywhere. When I say we, I mean Back to School Iowa can't be everywhere. And so we have Hip Hope, Mothers Against Violence, and Project Hope that are joining us in that effort. So
man,
if you
they stepped up to the plate, man.
They did.
They stepped up. They said, yo, let's do this. Let's make it happen.
Right. And so usually we do 1,000 bags. This year we're expanding that to 2,000 with the help of Hip Hope, Mothers Against Violence, and Project Hope. And we are here for our city. There is, when there's a need, sometimes when I was younger, it would be your neighbor, you know, that could help you out. My grandma used to take us walking down the street. Somebody had a fruit tree. You grab the fruit. I'm not sure we wasn't stealing, but I love my grandma. But you may not have those resources, but somebody else does. Here at the Urban Impact Show, we are all about handling this as a community. And so we are here with you. We are working with you. We will be at that school board meeting with you digitally. And we're going to be at the Back to School Bash on Sunday, August 23rd with you as well in 4 different locations. So those are my final thoughts. We will drop links below for you. We are here. And we will be back with you in 2 weeks, right, Rob?
Yeah, just so 2 weeks, maybe 3.
I can't, y'all. I cannot. But anyway, Urban Impact Show, Education 2020, unprecedented times, but we're resilient people. We're going to get through this. Thank you so much, guests.
See y'all later.
See you later.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.